Okay. Mm,
We on? Hello, everyone.
Okay, you're back.
We on, right?
yeah, we are live, please.
Okay, wonderful. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dora Puhaka from Yade Community, and I'm here to host an expert panel discussion that we will be doing collectively with different organizations to reach out to African immigrants, be it young and aging or older. Hopefully, we do have people listening to us, and we're looking forward to having a wonderful discussion together. Today is the 29th of September 2024, and it's 6 o'clock. We will have time together for about 1 hour and a half. The goals of the discussions are actually, we have two goals for this discussion. The first one is just to raise some awareness of and for the growing number of aging and elderly African immigrants in Finland. And the second goal would be to explore ways to incorporate the elderly into different activities and also lead them to services that would be beneficial to them or to us as we are all aging. Before I get going, I would like to thank everybody for coming. We have 3 experts today, and I would like to warmly welcome Miss Emma Tamankang from HEED, Mr. Akinsola from Think Africa, and Miss Momma Aria Arai from Old Folks Matter. To begin, I would like you to please introduce yourselves and your organizations briefly. And while at it, you can also let us know how elderly African immigrants are represented in the activities of your organization. Can we perhaps start with?
I went offline. Okay.
With
Emma.
Emma, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen and fellow viewers. Happy Sunday to all of you, wherever you are. And I'm super happy to be part of this expert panel discussion. It's an honor to be, with wonderful, lovely brothers and Mama Aria here and Sister Dora to discuss issues that really matter. My name is Emma Tamankak, and I'm the project expert in the Health is Wealth project that is powered by HEED Finland. HEED Finland is an NGO founded in 2018 with three main goals, which is to promote health, education, and integration of immigrants and refugees in Finland. In our activities, we have factored in the fact that the aging population, not only African immigrants, but also immigrants in general, is increasing rapidly. And so our activities are usually very open. And we do have many immigrants, elderly immigrants who participate in the different activities that we have been providing and different interventions that we've had over the past 5 or 6 years. So thank you very much, Dora.
Thank you so much, and a warm welcome. And the next person who can introduce themselves is Mr. Akinsola. I think we cannot hear you.
Okay, I got it. How about now? Can you hear me now? Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and I hope we've all had a very nice weekend. It's nice to be here. My name is Akin Shola. I am currently serving as the chairperson of Think Africa. Well, Think Africa is an NGO founded 10 years ago. It's 10 years today, and we are having a celebration later in the year. But not today. I mean this year. We're 10 years this year, and our vision is to have the members of the African diaspora in Finland recognized and valued, and to be actively involved in the Finnish society as we live here and as we exist here. And our mission is to uplift the members of the African diaspora in Finland, to improve our sense of well-being, to belonging, and to advocate for meaningful representation and participation in the community. We have 4 values: collaboration, representation, diversity, and participation. Our aim is for us as members of the African diaspora to live a full and complete life, to live full and complete lives here, as we would live anywhere else that we might exist. That's Think Africa in brief, and I'm glad to be here. I'm quite excited as chairperson, like I said earlier. We as an organization are open to all members of the African diaspora, all members from young people to the elderly. We believe, I think, Africa, that everybody has a thing to offer, which is why we are not an organization that serves people. We are people. We invite everybody to come and work, to come and do something for us as a community, as a society, and also for ourselves as individuals. So we welcome everybody, and we take initiative from anybody who comes from, no matter how young you are, no matter how old you are. You're welcome to join us and be a part of the engine that moves our community. And so, in that sense, our activities are always open to all age groups, and our events and our mission and vision is also open and is inclusive of all age groups, including people who are much older than we are. We believe that there's a lot of wisdom that we can gain at the feet of the elders. So we always welcome the elders. We always go to elders for advice, for instruction on how things should be done. And so far, we have gained so much from putting ourselves as an organization in that particular light. So everybody's welcome, Think Africa, and please come, please come and join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Mr. Akin, and welcome. Our next expert is none other than Mama Aria. Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy to be here, especially being the eldest of the elderly at 70 years old. I think I can offer something of a lived experience about what goes on in Finland and throughout the world. And my NGO is Earth Angels of Finland, and it started in 2006 as a message to the Black American community that we have and have done something within the world. What I do is I pass on relevant information about the achievements of Black people and what we have done that it's not in the history book. So I have to dig. So I do say it loud, Black American History Month since 2006. So what I do is I represent women, what women have invented. Like a lot of people don't realize that a Black person invented the ironing board, LASIK eye surgery, and different things like this. So it's very important for me to pass on this information to the next generation, because a lot of Black kids do not know that we are somebody. We are more than just drumming. We are more than just cooking. We are thinking. We have Pulitzer Prize winners. We have, that we're thinking people. So that's what I wanted to pass on through Earth Angels of Finland. And what also I'm starting a new NGO called Old Folks Matter, because I think that a lot of people at my age, we get cast aside. I'm glad that Akin has said that he does appreciate the older mind, because we can know about history and we know what history has been done in the past and what history will make in the future, and everyone will have their own story. My story is that at 70 years old, I've lived in several countries, and I know the downfalls and the pitfalls that can cause things to happen in your life that you don't expect. So I'm here to just represent and listen and also learn. and give. Thank you for inviting me, and I really appreciate this.
Thank you so much, Mama Aria, and a warm welcome to tonight's discussion. This sounds like we're really going to have a great discussion, and I will let you in a little bit more on what YADE is doing as well, because it really aligns with what everybody here is doing. Sorry. Yeah. The health perspective from Emma, the African diaspora from Akin, as well as the old folks perspective from Mama Aria is included in what YADE is doing. YADE was started about 15 years ago in Helsinki, but we also we do a lot of our work in the metropolitan area, but we are welcoming people who would like to reach out to elderly non-European people outside the metropolitan area. Please get in touch with us, and we would be happy to work with you. So the target group for YADE is over 50 years of age people from outside the European Union, and we have the main tool that we use is the peer support group. Peer support group is a structured meeting that happens regularly. It's almost like a get together to have a discussion, just a chat, but it's structured in a way that we share information, we get to know one another, and we practice skills really that people in the group are in need of. And we have different languages. Currently, we have Arabic, we have Kurdish, Somali language, Dari and Farsi from Persia, Chinese, Vietnamese. Very recently, we are starting working with the Thai community, and we are looking forward to working in English, and especially now focusing on the community of African immigrants. And everyone above the age of 50 is welcome to join YADE. We mainly support the overall functional capacity, like being able to do what you need to do independently, and promoting inclusion and participation in the lives of older people or aging people and in the society at large. And our main thing is the languages that we try to reach people through. Well, wonderful. We will move to our next question, and that would be from your point of view. I will start with Emma now, and then I would move on to others. From let me say, like, Heed Finland's point of view, since you focus more on health, what kinds of issues do elderly African immigrants face in Finland? If you think of like focusing on the health issues,
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dora, for that wonderful question. What I want to say is that my contribution to this topic is not just about African elderly immigrants. I think it cuts across the board. It's a problem that all immigrants from, I would say, Africa, Middle East, and probably maybe elderly immigrants in general, they face. But there are special characteristics. There are also differences, because I want us to avoid the one size fits all concept that seemed to be the talk of the day. Before we start thinking about the problems that African immigrants face, or elderly African immigrants face in this country, it is very important to point out that it is very, I would say, there are many moving parts. There are many factors that affect that. And the first thing that I can think of is how did that elderly African immigrant get to Finland? Were they born here, they grew up here, or they moved to Finland at a certain age? How old were they when they got here? What's the socioeconomic situation in their home country and before they moved to Finland? So these are some of the things. What's their social network here? Do they have a family, or are they living alone? These are all some of the important things that is very important to consider before we start talking about that. Another thing that can affect that is their level of education. Are they learned, or then they are having difficulties with learning the language, reading and writing, and all of these things. So again, some elderly immigrants might have had, been in different kinds of situations, which might also affect their health tremendously, maybe uh, um, for instance, migration trauma that they might have faced in their different countries before moving to Finland. So these are all the challenges. But what I would say is that from a health perspective, all of these things put together, there are many things that African immigrants do, elderly immigrants do go through on a daily basis. We have to also remember that the culture is something that is deep rooted in somebody, and for you to change, move from one culture to another, there's always a saying that it's very difficult to bend an old broom. That's a saying that we used to, hear from our parents. It's very
Yeah.
difficult to bend an old broom, which means that as somebody gets older, it's very difficult to learn new ways of doing things if the culture and the ways of doing those things are totally different from what they have been accustomed to, right? And
Yeah.
so change is always a very, very difficult process for the elderly. But
Yeah.
from Heat Finland's perspective, what we have observed in the past is that we have elderly African immigrants who have difficulties with the language. This we see all the time during our guidance sessions, because again, you want to help somebody, but then it's very difficult for you to try to get them to understand what you're actually saying in a way that they can then make the necessary health or lifestyle changes that you expect them to make. And then another thing that I can think about, which is I think a growing problem, is mental well-being of the elderly, African elderly immigrants. We have to remember that in this country, there's a lot of racism and discrimination that younger people are facing, but also the elderly are facing that. But as younger people, we can absorb certain problems. We can accommodate them in a different way. But for the elderly, that sets them off completely. And in addition to all the many or some of the other things that they go through on a daily basis, I would say that the elderly, African elderly immigrants' mental well-being and mental health is something that we need to pay special attention to, because the change is drastic, is huge, a change from what they used to do and what we're expecting them to do. Right. So
Yeah.
I'm going to talk more on environmental factors and some of the economic factors that can affect that. But maybe I'll let the others to speak first before I come in again.
Yeah, I'm very, very interested in especially the environmental factors, because I think the environment changes, the people that surround us changes, how things are done, how I wake up, what I'm doing, apart from maybe my lifestyle changes. So I think I'm really keen to hear that a bit more on that. But thank you so much for letting us in. I will continue with Akin. Mr. Akinshola, I would like to ask a similar question from you. From your point of view, what kinds of issues do elderly African immigrants face in Finland, or aging? And as the leading African immigrant organization, how do you feel? From your experience, how is Think Africa taking into account the growing numbers of elderly African immigrants? Because everybody is growing and nobody's getting younger. and would like to hear from you, please. The sound is off. Let's please.
My apologies. I seem to forget to unmute myself.
It's okay.
I'll say thank you very much for the question. It's a very good question. I think that to start to answer the question, I think one of the places that I would like to start is to say that the place I'd like to start is to say that there seems to be a sort of disconnect between people who are older and people who are younger in Finland. I mean, generally speaking, there's a lot of disconnect between members of the African diaspora generally because we are scattered all over the country and in different places and we are really busy. But particularly in this for this context, there's a lot of disconnect between the people who are older and people who are younger in Finland for different reasons that I know that we could talk about. And that disconnect it grows because back home the support that the elderly have is different from the support that they have here. There's the family support. There is the children are here. The children there's that connection that is usually maintained, but we don't have that. So that's the disconnect that we have registered. Now, what can we do about it as Think Africa? As Think Africa, one of the things that we do is that we offer Think Africa as a platform where anybody, any member of the diaspora, anybody at all can come, and we can work together with them, including our partners and collaborators, work together with them to create events and activities that are valuable, useful to different demographics, including the elderly. And for this particular discussion, we're talking about the elderly. So one thing that we are, and that we are by our DNA as Think Africa, is that we have open doors. So our doors are always open. Whenever anybody has any thoughts or any ideas for anything at all, a project, an event, a series of events, whatever it is that you think that anybody in the diaspora thinks is valuable and useful for any member or for any group of any particular group. It could be national group, it could be ethnic group, whatever group it is. It could also be a business group, whatever it is. We are always happy to work with them, with any such person, to fulfill those dreams, to fulfill those goals. We encourage everybody, including the elderly, especially the elderly and the young, to come on board and create events, create projects, create ideas, create thoughts, and collaborate with members, or now people who are now members of Think Africa and all the people who are members of the African diaspora, generally speaking, to collaborate and create pathways where we can get the elderly involved in more things. So you can get them involved, make them feel more at home. So one key way in which you do that is that we always encourage everybody to come to Think Africa and use Think Africa's platform, and use Think and members of Think Africa to do things for everybody, for the elderly in this particular case. So we, to reiterate or to go over to summarize, we welcome every initiative, we welcome every thought, we welcome every idea, we welcome every imagination that ends up being good for the community and good for different segments of the community. And for this particular case, we welcome every initiative that's good for the elderly. And we want to work with you to involve more elderly people in things that we do. I want to work with you to involve more people, generally speaking, in things that we do. That's how we try to bridge the gap between the elderly and the young today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So I understand that Think Africa is creating space, providing a platform, a space that is safe for the African diaspora to organize events and reach out to everyone, including the elderly. I think that is very important, and that is very nice, because often when you want to do something, you would need to collaborate with somebody with better leverage to be able to reach your target group or to actually make it happen. And I think an organization like Think Africa that actually represents the African diaspora in Ethno, the Ministry of Justice's group that
ethnic relations group, yeah.
Yeah, I think it means a lot to be able to have just that, to recognize that role that is what you're doing. It's very important, and I thank you for that. I would be happy to
All
hear.
right, and
Yes.
I wanted to just interject here because Akin said something that is very, very fundamental. And I do agree that Think Africa play a very, very important role when it comes to the African diaspora, and that includes the elderly, because one of the issues that I did not mention, which is it's a growing problem, is also loneliness. And I think we've been talking a lot about loneliness amongst the elderly. It's not just the natives, it's also the immigrant elderly, and this includes African immigrant elderly people. And if we think that the activities and the platform that Think Africa is creating, that will not only solve the problem of loneliness, but also it will help, it will help the elderly African immigrant to create networks, get themselves involved in different kinds of activities that they can have the sense of fulfillment, which in turn affects their well-being. So I think it's kind of taking one stone to shoot so many birds. So I really thank you, Akin, for bringing that up.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming in, Emma, because this, like the point of loneliness, is very, very important, because it's where at Yade we've noticed one thing about I don't know what the name is for it, but there's a lot of assumptions that are made both from the outside and from within the elderly community, that my children will take care of me. Their children will take care of them. Not all elderly people have children, and most of the ones that do have children, the children might not live in the same country as they do. And the ones that have children that are living in the same country as them, the children's lives are very, very busy. Their parents are a priority, but the reality, the schedule of the child's life it's just impossible given the environment. Like, that's why I'm saying that we would like to hear more about the environment. So this was a very important point, loneliness. We don't talk about it very much, but I think we need to talk about it more. Thank you so much.
I wanted to interject something about what Akin was saying about including the elderly. And with me, I don't even know any other women, from the diaspora. I happen to be American, and I don't know any other women that are my age. Like I said, I'm 70 years old. I've been in Finland for 30 years. And because of my Americanism, I have had more benefit than most people who are coming straight from the African continent. And my thing is that I don't see any elderly on the board. At the board at all. I'm like, well, most of the people on the on boards that I have witnessed are below 60. Is that true, Akin? Do you have someone elderly on your board?
Oh, was that could have made the question?
Yes, that was a question.
Right. Yeah, was the question that do we have anybody elderly on the board of Think Africa? Is that the question?
Yes.
That is the question.
Over 60. Yes.
60. No, not at this time. We don't have anybody over 60 on the board of Think Africa at this time. No. But of course, we look forward to. I personally, I personally appreciate the maturity and the wisdom that comes with age. I personally appreciate that, and I think that it's very valuable to the young to listen to the old and to get counsel from the old. And in the multitude of mature and elderly counsel, there is a lot of wisdom in it. So I'm looking forward to a time where I think Africa is going to have more people who are either on the board or who are advisors for Think Africa who are elderly, people we can go to when we have issues that we need to resolve, people we can go to when we are confused about what to do, people we can go to when we need counsel, when we need wisdom. I'm looking forward to a time like that. And I know that this sort of conversation that we're having now is the beginning of things like this, where we involve more elderly people in the things that we do, and and it's benefit for both in both directions. So right now we don't, and it is good that you pointed out. I write that down, and we will in time, of course, contact all the elderly people that we know and get them on the advisory board and get them active.
Because I've worked with you. I've worked with you. It's not that you're prejudiced, because I myself, as an elderly person, I have worked with Think Africa. And these are things that I have noticed the gap in what actually happens within where you're on the planning committee than when you're invited in to do the actual working part of it. So I think that this is something that needs to be looked in, not only from Think Africa's point of view, but all the Finnish NGOs that cater to immigrant issues.
Thank you, Mama Aria. I do agree. And we're coming to you. You will be the next speaker officially. But I would like to also remind us of with organizations, there is a structure, because I think Africa has bio rules on the requirements for board members. A person must have been a member for a certain period of time. But of course, I think within the bio rules, I think the AG would be able to decide on maybe having quotas for people of a certain age or a certain gender to be also represented. But let me get to the question for Mama Aria, which is quite similar to everybody else's question. I would like to ask you, Mama Aria, from your point of view, as an elderly immigrant in this country, in this beloved Finland, what are the things that you do that you can recommend to others to keep active? Keeping in mind the original question of what kinds of issues do elderly African immigrants face in Finland?
You had broken up for a bit, but I understand the question now.
Thank you.
Mostly health issues. It's like once we get to a certain age, we are invisible. This is the main thing that happens. We don't get the same treatment in shops. We don't get the same treatment when it comes to someone taking us seriously. When we go to the police to ask for help, it's like we're invisible. When we go to get health issues taken care of, we're invisible. No one believes us. And we have illnesses that take hold of us much more because it wasn't taken care of preventatively in the first place. And I have gone through this personally. I was sent home with needles in my arms because no one cared to do the actual check to make sure that everything was okay with me. And that wouldn't happen to a Finnish person, ever. That would never happen to a Finnish person. So some of the things that have happened to me personally, is because I know that I'm not an indigenous Finn, and other things that I benefit from is because I'm not directly from Africa. But I found that people really don't care a lot now that I've reached to this age. When they see your chart, your age, because I don't look my age, when they see that you're over a certain age, the whole health system changes. And this is not only for me. A lot of my friends who are Finnish are suffering from the same thing. The health system really needs to wake up and find out that the people who have paid into the system need the most help. Also, the mental health issue that, like Emma was mentioning about loneliness and things. There's no set up system that helps in this case, and especially when the Finnish system is doing all these investigations about what's needed, and this immigrants are not even a part of the conversation. It's like, again, we're invisible, we don't exist. So and then they want to put us in a situation that is not indigenous to us. We have different values. All Africans are not the same. Africa is a continent, not a country. You have different people. It's like I was telling people, are you going to treat a German person the same way you would treat someone from England? No, but they want to do that to indigenous Africans. And it's really an abomination. You have to go by people's country, culture, and background, period. So I'm really starting. That's why I started this group, Old Folks Matter. And what spearheaded this was the way they treated Biden, when they just wanted to throw him away and call him old or whatever. And it didn't matter what Trump was saying. It was just what him. He was probably in shock the same way I was. My mouth was open the whole time during the debate. Nonetheless, they threw him away immediately because of his age. It didn't matter what he had done in the past. It didn't matter what he could offer. just his age was enough to get the excuse to throw him away. So I said, no, we matter. Experience matters. Experience is a terrible thing to waste. So I hope I'm answering the question. It's so frustrating for me. Plus housing. Housing is a big deal about the elderly here in Finland. Really big deal. It's really an abomination that seniors don't have the capacity to get fair housing. And then on the little pension they live on, they can't even afford to live. And then if they own a house, they're not eligible for any, like Asimus Tuki, they have to go and beg. They can't get glasses. They can't get their teeth fixed. They wanted me to pull all my teeth out rather than and give me dentures rather than just giving me, the right type of treatment beforehand. So these things are to my soul, really. I'm no less than anybody. I shouldn't have to die early because someone decided not to do the test.
Thank you, Mama Aria, for sharing. This is very painful to hear, and it's really sad. I understand. I think it's the invisibility is something real, that it's difficult to feel like you are visible when there's maybe no active communication between the parties. And I do hope that the work that all these organizations that are together here today, the work that we would be doing together would be there to support the process of getting African immigrant, elderly people to become much more visible, be seen and be heard. MC Aliko is saying very important topic. This is a very important topic that we are talking about. And I'll give Mama Emma the floor, please.
Yes.
To respond.
Thank you so much, my dear Dora, and thank you, Mama Aria, for sharing your thoughts and your personal experiences. I just wanted to remind us that we live in a country where there are rules, and it's very important because one of the problems we face is that we don't know our rights, and they say knowledge is power, right? And I want to take us to two very important acts, because the law is there. It is very important for us to know. And the first one is the Act on Care Service for Older People. And what this act pretty much says that it obliges policymakers, to always consider or put on their agenda, or have older people as part of their agenda when they're talking about or deciding things on integration. Okay, so they have to pay special attention or pay attention at least to older immigrants. And this includes African immigrants as well. And then the second act is the Act on the Status and Rights of Patients, which require care and service providers to encounter immigrants in a culturally sensitive and respectful manner, and to make sure that their individual needs are addressed, not putting everybody in the same box. So we do have the law that provides us with the guidelines, there's specific and clear parameters that we are supposed to, be able to carry out our activities. And of course, not just us, but also the service and care providers. So it breaks my heart, of course, to hear this. But what I would say right now, my dear Dora, to everybody who is listening, is to remember that today we are talking about the African elderly immigrants.
Sorry, I think you're cutting.
Yes, this is happening a lot. I'm just trying to make way. She has frozen.
Yeah.
She's just frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. While she's coming back, I'll just quickly read what Nana Boateng just sent.
I'm familiar with the act that she's talking about. And I have sued the city. I have sued the city of Turku several times over this and won. And then the excuse is that, you know, that it was a nurse or this or that. And but there's things called patient advocates, and you ask for the patient advocate if ever you're treated badly in a hospital, for period. And they have to, by law, provide a patient advocate for you and let that person come and see you while you're still there.
Thank
I
you,
think
Mama Aria.
it's our dear.
Yeah. Thank you, Mama Aria. Let's
Yeah,
just
she's
quickly,
back.
because I
Are
think
you
Emma
back?
is back now.
Uh-huh.
Can we please go over quickly to Ms. Tamankang? You were talking about the act and the legal requirements for the service providers.
Yes.
Please continue.
Yes, absolutely. And basically what I was saying is that it's very, very important for care and service providers to also, understand the legal implications of their actions, right? And I think this is enshrined in the Finnish constitution as well, that every single person should be treated equally, irrespective of their cultural background, their race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, you name it. Yes, but that said, today we are talking about the elderly, African immigrant. We are all aging. Mama Aria said she's 70, and you look amazing at 70. I must say that. You look, I want to be like you when I grow, when I get, when I get to
Exactly.
70, because you are just
You
an
can have all my
amazing
aches and pains.
example.
I'll give them.
Please, it's
I
just
do too.
unbelievable. Yes, it's just unbelievable. So I hope that by the end of today, you are going to give us you're going to share
Yes.
some secrets, because that's the part that I'm really excited, because I want to be
Yes.
like you. So keep that. I hope you're not gonna fail us when it comes to that. But dear viewers, the thing I want to say right now is this topic is important for all of us. We are all aging. Aging is a natural process. It's a natural process. We age every single day. It's progressive, right? You're not gonna you're not gonna start aging at a particular point. No, from the very day you were born, your child became a year old, then a day old, 6 months old, 1 year, 30, 40, 60, until Mama Aria is now 70 plus, right? So it is ongoing. And why this is very important is because there's something we call the physiological, changes that happens in the body while we age, which is natural. We know that as you age, everything starts slowing down. Everything starts slowing down, whether we are talking about the way the brain functions, whether we are talking about maybe musculoskeletal problems, whether we are talking about the body composition, changes in the body composition. So these changes are expected, right? They are expected. And what I think is that as a community, as organizations, when we understand these changes, then we will know the difficulties that elderly African immigrants are going through. We will understand that for an elderly African immigrant to not have the possibility of going out and do some form of physical activity, that is actually endangering their health even more, right? Because there's already loss of muscles as they age. So when they are not able to even train or do some form of physical activity, what happens? Before we know it, their functional capacity is going down, right? And then it becomes a burden for the state. So there's a lot that can be done to save for the state in the future. And not only that, but to also make sure that the elderly African immigrants, they live a meaningful life even at old age, right? So this is very,
Yeah.
very important. And then something that I wanted to also mention when it comes to the to some of the challenges, and especially with mental health, is that we have to remember the culture. And I say this with like all due respect to our wonderful African elderly mothers and fathers who moved to this country at old age. I don't want to say at old age, but over the age of 60. Let's put it that way. I know that aging is seen differently with different cultures. For some cultures, is the chronologic age that is considered you're 60-year old. In some cultures, it's functional, right? Factors that they consider that you are old. If you're not able to do the things or carry out your activities of daily living, that might be that you are old. But in another culture, it's different, even though we are all Africans, right?
Yeah.
So what we need to really take into consideration here or factor in is that the weather, the environment where these our elderly immigrants, African immigrants have moved to is totally different from the one they are accustomed to. The problem with the weather is one thing, right? Even the fact that the culture is so different that you're not able to get up and talk to your neighbor. My mom was in a cultural shock when she walked down the street and she could not see somebody who would look at her and say good morning. Can you imagine what that does to her mental health when she's coming from a collective society? And this is an individualistic society. That affects her a great deal. And then we have these parents, these elderly African immigrants, who are used to bringing up their children in a certain way, then they come with us, they're living with us, and they see how we now, the second generation, first generation African immigrants here, the way our children are behaving, and it is causing a lot of stress on the parents.
Yeah.
An elderly African immigrant mother would never understand why you talk to a child and they talk back. Do you get the point? Because that's not the way they were groomed. That's not the way they train us. So it's a big deal for them. They will not understand why a child will leave the house and not tell the parents where they are going, because then you start asking questions. Why do you want me to do this? Because you want justification for everything. Us, this first generation with children, we have learned that we have adjusted. But again, the elderly have not adjusted to that because it's much more difficult for them to adjust to it. So all of this is creating a lot of stress for the elderly, and it affects their mental health. And these are things that if we don't talk about, nobody will even imagine. Even our wonderful policymakers, they don't know that these are the things that families are facing, the elderly are facing at home on a daily basis. You get it? So mental well-being, mental health, depression is real among African elderly immigrants. And whatever we do, the policies that we make, the interventions, the strategies that we make, we need to factor in how to help the elderly African immigrants to be able to, live a meaningful life that is free of stress and depression.
Yeah. While on that topic, can you please perhaps elaborate a little bit, because we tend to have these perceptions of some diseases not being African. One example that we often deal with at in IADE is a theme on memory loss. And perhaps when you talk about mental health interaction, I think you were just talking about some things that are quite close to that. I'm from an African country where we have a very common habit of, it's part of greeting, but it's just something that is very common, that a person would ask Opoli, which means, are you there? And when I think of it, I get to miss it so much in Finland because nobody does that. It's like a nudge. It's like a warm nudge that just reminds you that I see you and I just recognize your presence, and I just want to make sure that are you still with us? Are you right here? Like, it's a touch. It's a verbal touch, because if you were very close to me, I would say, like maybe I would nudge Akin and say, "You here, right?" "Yeah, I'm here." Good. Then we'll continue with the conversation. But please talk to us about that. You mental health and memory related.
Right. Are you asking Emma?
Yes. Or like anybody can come in with, like,
Yeah,
when you
I wonder, because I'm doing this
Mama
African.
Aria might tell us something about that. Then I would jump in.
Yeah, I'll be happy to hear.
Right now, there's an initiative going on about the African Men's Mental Health Initiative, okay? And it has been so difficult to get people to really understand that mental health is not a weakness. Everyone is born. It's like if you break your leg, you need to go and get it taken care of. And in Finland, when the wintertime comes, you're going to find out what mental health issues are, especially if you don't take the right vitamins, if you're not prepared, if you're, if you're feeling isolated. The darkness will make you sleep more, not want to do anything. You become, lethargic. So finally, I spoke at a seminar and I let them know. And even the person who was a PhD would say, African men, we know. I said, hey, you need to really be quiet now, because you're not making this any better for these young students here who need to know what's coming up for them. So I was quite forceful, as you know I can be, passionate, not angry, passionate. And I just told them, really, what does it hurt to find out what tools you can get for free? Just at least find that out, that maybe you're not possessed. Maybe there's no demons going on in your body. Maybe praying will not solve this. This is a physical thing. Mentality is a physical thing. Your body has a brain. Your body has neurons. These things are not going to fire well if you don't have the right vitamins and you don't have the right mindset to be well. So I got 15 people to sign up for this. I was so happy. And we had been at a standstill before that. In Helsinki, they're more open because there's more people able to do things. But in Turku, it was really hard. But perseverance, and that's what needs to happen. Perseverance, whatever you're doing, don't give up. Don't take no until you hear no 100 times. So the men are now on board, and we're going to do this seminar here and do a workshop about mental health issues. And we need someone of color to come there to do this. So if anyone out there is of color, please, and it's in like the psychological department of their hospital or whatever, please come help us. Because a lot of people who are not of color do not understand the ins and outs of what the mental challenges that people of color have. When we get depressed, it's much deeper and it stays much stronger than anyone else, because we already are mentally challenged, mental health challenged, because of the day in, day out bombardment of racism and this and that we go through, and it takes a toll. So this will just add more to it. So thank you very much for letting me speak on this issue.
Thank you, Mama Aria. Of course, you're talking about Turku. We're looking forward to Integration 2024 and being in Turku, hopefully with you as well. And we're talking about men and mental health. We just had a comment from Miss Fatima Usman saying, well done, very important topic. And we'll continue with the expert panel discussion by asking our next question. And the next question that I would ask from the panel, and this is, I would be happy if you just take it away. What kind of advantages, like I know we're venting, which is also necessary, but we're living in Finland, and what kind of advantages are there in living in Finland for elderly African immigrants? What are the good sides? The sunshine, sunny side up.
I would like to speak to that.
I can start.
Really living in Finland. And for me, when I compare it to my country, the United States, you think that the elderly have it bad here. We are having a picnic here. There's no way for us to be homeless. There's no way for us that we're going to be dying on the streets. There's no way that we don't get at least some type of medical attention here. In the United States, you can actually die. You can actually have your house taken from you. So the actual benefit here is much better than many countries. But I want to be getting the same benefit that anybody would get. And as a Finn would. I don't want to be singled out and say, okay, you're going to get less because you're this, No, I want to have the same. But people in America don't even believe that I don't have to pay thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars for medical care. So
Yeah.
these are some of the good things that I can tell about Finland when I'm comparing it to other countries, because you can die from something living in another country. Am I right, Emma? You can go ahead and interject in here.
Yeah, thank you,
Please.
Mama Aria. You just, I mean, you touched on some of the things I was gonna say, but just adding to what you said, which I think is very important, is the fact that, or I do start by saying, knowledge is power, right? It is
Yeah.
important for us to, uh, first of all, know the different services that are available, because there's a lot that is available. But the
Yeah.
problem usually is that the elderly, African elderly immigrant, just like with other elderly immigrants, are not aware of these services. I think this is the problem. And
Yeah.
if you don't know it, unfortunately, the culture here, this is a wonderful country, but the culture seems to be don't ask, don't tell. But if you ask, they
Yeah.
will tell you. So, in my opinion, what I think we need to do is there's plenty of good things that the elderly can benefit, and you touch on some of them, Mama Aria, but
Yeah.
the list is long, right? There
Yeah.
are so many, for
Yes.
instance, benefits that the elderly can get, like transportation, different recreational activities, and medication help, like you said, hospital, you know, like the list is
Apulainen,
very long.
And
Housing,
my osmosis
yeah.
for there's an
but
elderly
but
osmosis
but if
that's much higher than
Yeah.
for the
yes,
regular
but if
people. I can have a bigger apartment. I can have Loma. They will pay for me to go on a rehabilitation Loma, which I have it already set
Holiday.
up to go to
thank
for
you,
free.
Yeah.
They do all
Vacation.
of these things.
thank you.
The
So
thing
so
Yeah.
so
about
there's
it is
plenty.
So
you
yeah.
have to
Like
know what you have to know. They don't reach out and come and get you. You have to be assertive and proactive. Google will
Yes,
tell you everything you need to know, but
and
kind of
welcome to
Mama.
Yade.
Yeah, but Dora, let me say one thing. You come to Yade, because
Mm.
when one of the challenges that I mentioned was the fact that we have African immigrant elderly who are maybe not educated, and
Mm.
language can be a barrier,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
this is in itself a barrier for them to even understand the different services that are available.
Yeah.
So we wonderful organizations like Yade, which Dora is
Mm.
probably going to talk about, which I think
Yeah.
is also something that we should all be championing, on what are the different tools that we have available
Yeah.
to be able to help the elderly, African immigrant elderly, to understand and benefit and utilize all of these services that are available for them.
Yeah. I
Thank
think
you, Dora.
yeah. Thank you so much. I would quickly just get in also to talk about this. Um, Yade is an organization, like I said at the beginning, that we advocate for elderly immigrants, regardless of their background, and especially now that we're talking about African immigrants, it is very unfortunate that, of course, we get to see the Arabic-speaking elderly people, the Kurdish, Somali, Dari, Farsi, and in different languages that are spoken, but we don't get to see African elderly people getting the services that are available for everybody. Like you said, the act, it is not forced onto anybody. So if you don't take it, of course, you can go and pay for the services as well. One of the example, a very, very common example that perhaps, but these also can be different in different cities. So it's important to know what it is like within the city that you are, like the municipality, the municipal area that you are living in. I would start with Helsinki, for instance. People who are aged 65 and above are entitled to a service center card, a card that would get them access to the service centers and all the services, starting with the social worker that would support and give you service guidance officially. You have access to that. They have gyms in the service centers to keep your physical health at a level that you would like to prolong your ability to do basic things for free after the age of 65. Swimming pools, of course, you can go to the public swimming pools and pay, but you can also enter the service center swimming pools. And these are also available for unemployed people. Nana Boateng just wrote quickly that very important conversation. And now Gift I writes that there are service advisors in every senior center, especially in Helsinki. I couldn't get the last part. Very needed conversation from Nana Boateng. Thank you for the comment. And yeah, that's my beautiful and smart teacher. I believe this is Emma from Judith Kossa. And Nana claps again. So service centers have, MC Aliko says, very important topic. Service centers do have different kinds of services, including digital services.
Everybody back?
Sorry? Digital support for people that might need that, being able to just get your way around to accessing, communicating with Kela, for instance, or with the health service providers. And you can really come to Yade. And if it's very difficult for you to move, to get out of the house, or if you are too young to be old, but you know somebody that is a bit older, please let them know to call me or to call Yade, but call me personally at my Yade's phone number or send us an email. Give us a call, give us a message, and let us know who the person is and where do they live, because we also do home visits. And we have been doing these. They will continue to do them with or without me. Yade will continue to function. I'm working at Yade until at least the end of this year, depending on the funding that is available. But while funding is available, and especially this from October to November, we're planning to have a peer support group together with HEED, starting on the 16th of October, every Wednesday in Itakescu Service Center. Join the peer support group. Come and meet other people. Come and get the information. We'll do some light exercises. We will talk about the topics that are related to what you need to talk about, whether it's topics that you bring or it's topics that we will be bringing to you related to your health, related to your diet, related to, we also do trips around the place just to look around and visit places that you may not have visited, even if you live in Helsinki, and offer you, like, bring you together with the services that are available in Helsinki. And we do the same in Espoo as well. I'll continue with Gift's message. There are service advisors in every senior center, especially in Helsinki. You can book a time there and get advised on availability of services. Please encourage the elders, the elderly people, to do this. Support them to actually make the bookings and visit these places. And if they're not able to, call us so that we come to them in their homes if they cannot move. Some people are in wheelchairs, some people are homebound, and it might be necessary for them to get somebody to visit them in their homes. When we visit homes, we're not coming to look at what the house looks like, so there's no need to prepare it in any way. The main thing is just to visit the person. And if you feel much more comfortable, you can bring them just outside if that feels more comfortable. But the main thing is that the person is encountered and the challenges that they're having are dealt with, taken forward.
Dora, let me interject here, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say, just to add to what Yade is saying and the collaboration that we are planning now, that at HEED, as part of the Health is Wealth project, we have every Thursday guidance session or guidance day, where we can receive also elderly. We have been receiving, I've had many elderly clients come in, and you have a 45 minutes of health check, and then we provide a culturally sensitive guidance, depending on your needs. So those the guidance is really tailored according to your needs. So I think that's something that I want to encourage as well. And I want to thank all those who have, brought their parents, because we've had some wonderful African immigrants, especially from the Somalian community as well, who've come there with their parents because they really want to know. Because it is so important when you go to the hospital, maybe the nurse is telling you about things that if it's not an immigrant nurse, they are not, they're telling you about or giving you guidance on things that you actually don't do at home. So when you come to us, we are giving you guidance on the things that you actually do on a daily basis. Your diet, we talk about your diet, we talk about your physical activity, we talk about your sleep, we talk about your mental well-being, different ways to cope with stress and all of that, and then the measurements. And if there's a need for us to refer you to the healthcare center, maybe one of the measurements are kind of elevated. It could be blood pressure, it could be your hemoglobin, it could be your cholesterol levels, or your body composition is telling us something else. We would then do a referral for you to go to the health center. So this is also open for the elderly. So please don't forget that. At a 45 minutes of intense guidance that is tailored to meet your needs and is culturally sensitive. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
What I wanted to say is that fear keeps a lot of people home. The bombardment of racial injustice every day, it weakens people's will to venture from their homes. And now that we have the opportunity to have food and everything delivered to the home, people just become isolated. So these are some of the things that we need to address, that people are afraid to even complain about racist attacks and being called names on the street, or someone spitting on them, and all this. People are afraid. But me with my
Mama Aria is now frozen. In the meantime,
when you're elderly, if someone grabs your purse, who's going to help you? No one's there to help you when you're well. Who's going to help you when you're a little bit, feeble and you can't defend yourself? So I think for me, I reach out to people even when I'm in the shop. I go up to them and I talk to them. Most of the people that I have working with me are people that I have met and gone, and I have to reach out. Like the one of the questions is what can I do to improve the quality of life of other elderly people? And that's what you do. You go and you reach out. When you see someone on the street, you go and you interact with that person. If they don't want to interact with you, that's their choice. But you make the effort. You make the effort. And also with the next generation, I try to help whatever I can, because working with the next generation keeps me young. It does. It keeps you young, learning new things, teaching them things, and also, making yourself understand that this is a new world, and letting them understand that this new world is not necessarily the best world. Try to keep some of your homegrown things that your parents and grandparents have taught you. And so that's my thing. Thank you for letting me come here.
Thank you, Mama Aria, for that, because this is something that we've been looking forward to hearing, reaching out and interacting with people. That keeps you in good shape. I think it's important that we acknowledge that. I'll direct the next question to Akin, and of course, everybody else can perhaps interject if needed. But what can our younger listeners do to support their elderly relatives, neighbors, friends, acquaintances, and so forth? Voice.
I just see. I said, again.
You don't want to slip out on anything.
Right. Thank you for the question. I was saying that as the youngest person on this call, I'm probably the one to answer this question. So thank you very much for the question. Yeah, I think that one key thing, I'll be taking notes, as I should, because I'm taking words of wisdom from the elders concerning things that we should do and things that we could do. I've been taking notes, and one of the things that has been key for me as a point today is community. Is the idea that back home, it's easy to have communities. It's easy because everybody understands you. You grew up in the same. You've been living here for a while, so you understand the cultures and you understand the little bits, the little things that are part of the culture. But here it's a bit more difficult. So I think that one thing that we can do as younger people, and that we do, I think African that we're going to continue to do is to create a community, a place where people can feel valued, people can feel welcome, people can feel like they can, they can do the things that they want to do, that they desire to do. Because one of the things I imagine, and Mama Aria can correct me. Oh, she just left. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that not only young people have ideas, elders also have ideas about things that they want to do, thoughts about the future, not just for the past, but also about things that young people should do. And sometimes there's no space for them to say that to the people. Oh, I think these are the ways that you should go. Other things that we could do, that we also try to do, I think, Africa, is to create a space, a community space, where people can come and meet each other and they can have interactions, collaborations, they can share ideas, polish ideas, and they can then go off and engage in those ideas. So I think community is very important. We as young people should engage with the elders more. We shouldn't expect them to always come to us. We should also go to them, pay them visits. If you know anybody in the neighborhood who's elderly, visit them, talk to them, take them out for coffee sometime, help them with the little things that they need to do around the house or around the city or around for their lives, and so just sit with them and listen and validate their thoughts. It helps with loneliness. It helps you too to gain wisdom. So I think that it's a two-way blessing, as it were. And I think that community is very important. We should do more community stuff, more things in the community. Invite more elders specifically, and maybe even by name or by phone call. Call them. Oh, we're having this in your city. Please come out and hang out with the young people and have some coffee with us or have some bula with us. Even if you're not interested in what we're doing, just hang out. And we want your presence. And
some music they remember, Remember,
have parties for the elderly. I think these are things that we should do as younger people.
Yeah.
There are people around among us who are not as useful as we are, and who also require, and who also deserve, and who also are entitled to the space that we occupy. And we should make space for them and invite them into those spaces and also enjoy their company. Let them play their music for us. I mean, let's enjoy time together. So I think community is the important thing that I want to highlight here. Community, very important. Thank you very
much.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to highlight that every month I have a gathering in my home, and Sorry, I just wanted to say every month I have a gathering in my home, and I invite my neighbors. I invite all the elderly people I know to come to my home, and we just sit and we talk and watch the sunset, and we always have a theme. But every month I do that. So this is something that can be done, throughout in every city. It doesn't have to be Helsinki. It doesn't have to be it can be Tampere, Oulu, all these different places where people don't have any other option but to stay home and watch TV.
Thank you. So Akin talks about community. Mama Aria talks about inviting people over and just have that interaction, that social interaction. These get-togethers, we do talk about peer support, but it really is just a get-together. It's just much more structured. But I think what's more important is to really look into each other's eyes and check on each other and share about how we are doing, and if there's something that somebody needs, just sharing the information that we have, so that the information that is power, we share on the power that information gives us. The next question, we're moving towards the end. We have just a few minutes before we end this discussion for tonight. We will have many other discussions, perhaps more live in the future. But perhaps I would ask Emma, and others can also jump in if you have something to say. What puts elderly African immigrants? I think I know you've talked about this, but if I can delve a bit deeper, what puts elderly African immigrants at a disadvantage in Finland, and what can we do to counter that?
I think African immigrants are already at a disadvantage. We know that it's no secret. It's not something that I should be shy. When you start thinking of the order of importance, we're always at the bottom. So naturally, our elderly immigrant population is also going to be at the bottom, and the reasons are pretty much the same. But when I said that, it's very difficult to break an old broom, because if you even think about the food culture, you know, and as a healthcare professional, I'm always looking at prevention. Prevention is a concept that I cannot take off. I cannot really talk without thinking about how to prevent things. I'm always trying to prevent things, because I think prevention is better than cure. Do you understand what I mean? So what puts the elderly at a disadvantage is, first of all, African elderly is, first of all, being an African, being a Black person. That's it. And then the second one could be that, well, again, the culture is very different. The culture is very different from what we have here. The third thing could be that it's difficult to adapt to the when I talk about culture, it's not just like the way people are dressed, but it's also the food culture is very different from what they are accustomed to. So it makes it very difficult for them. And then another thing, if that I could mention, is the socioeconomic problems, factors that affect the African elderly immigrant. That affects African immigrants in general, but also the African elderly immigrants. Because even though we have those African elderly immigrants here, they have their lives back home. They have family members back home. They have probably some of their children back home. They have sisters, you understand. And yes, it affects them a great deal, in the sense that they have to constantly think about how to also, give back, how to support them. It's not only as the younger people, even my mother is constantly thinking about, how can I support this person, who is having a problem. Do you get the point? So that puts them. So I want to say that because the culture is different, the socioeconomic situation is very, very different, the environment is different, it already puts us at a disadvantage. Do you understand? It already puts at a disadvantage. But when I want to talk about prevention here, Dora, because all the things we've talked about today adds to the fact that chronic diseases are on the rise among African immigrants. And looking at the physiological changes that affects in our body as you age, it's even more for our elderly population. Okay? It's even more. So in my opinion, preventive care is super important for us to mitigate not just the different chronic diseases, whether cancer, high blood pressure, diabetes, but also mental health. We need to be able to work together to make sure that the African immigrant population in Finland do not suffer from, or even more from, these health hazards. And when you look at one key issue which Mama Aria touched, is the fact that D vitamins, many African immigrants lack D vitamins. They either don't take it, or they don't have sufficient levels of D vitamins, right? Because the dose they are taking is insignificant. And when you're aging, because you're losing bone density and all the other changes that occur in your body, the elderly person naturally needs to take more D vitamins. And as a darker skinned person, an African elderly immigrant, you need to take double the dose that we are taking. And when we have this lack of knowledge, all the other, factors like culture that affects how they see these things and take this and take this seriously, yes, depression is going to be on the rise among the African elderly immigrants because of lack of D vitamins. Mama Aria touched that. Maybe she did not open it up very well, but the depression is one
The
of the
doctors
factors.
don't even realize it. This is what really makes me upset. Doctors don't even realize that the importance of us having this and iron and D vitamins. I had to make this guy, I said, you know what, my symptoms are different than your symptoms. I made him Google it. He goes, oh, you're right. He wasn't even at the doctor's office. They try to treat us the same as they treat the indigenous Finns, and we're different. We're different.
Yeah. We
And-
are our elderly African immigrants are
Mm,
definitely at a disadvantage. Many
yeah.
elderly African immigrants are also not educated, and that puts them at a disadvantage. So they are not able to read and write and to understand these services that are available to
Mm,
benefit from them. You get the point?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And perhaps also I want to say that our children, African immigrants in this country are working
Mm,
a lot. So sometimes it's very important to also dedicate time and
yeah.
understand that the parents, they need that time and do the things that will help them. Maybe take them to these different places, search for the information for them, make sure that they get these services and all of that. It's our responsibility as well, but it
Yeah.
takes time.
It does. It does. Yeah, it takes time. I feel that we have touched on many themes. We have opened some things tonight that I'm hoping that our listeners have been able to pick the most important parts on. Mama Aria will start with you next. We are about to close. We have very few minutes before we close, and I would like to have our last round. Before we go on our last round, please, Mama Aria, briefly.
I am. I would like to just also touch on the fact that I'm not the basic elderly and African person of African descent. So I understand that I'm different, and I have been privileged because I'm American and because I have been a celebrity and because people know me. But that's also been a setback because as soon as you get well known, people really want to see you come down. So sometimes it's harder on me than it would be on somebody else. But because of everything I've done, I'm more financially able to take care of myself and tell people to, if I don't like the way that the system is running, I go to private. And there's not a lot of people that have that opportunity. So whenever I can, I give my own money to people so they don't suffer. You have to sacrifice and help your community in any kind of way you can. Just because I have doesn't mean that I'm not willing to give. And that's the point. Not only your time, but are you willing to sacrifice for other people? Yes, I am. At any time. My time, my money, whatever. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you. That was so well said. Quickly, I'll read Mr. Samuel Anini says, well done. We are listening and learning. And my last round, I would like you to each say something very briefly before we get cut off. Would you like to share something with us? What have you learned or received, something intangible that you have received from someone older than your parents that you will carry with you, that you would like to pass on to our listeners? Something valuable that you have received from someone.
Akin, you spoke very little.
I was going to say that well, something valuable I received is the culture of being inquisitive, of being curious about things, just wanting to know stuff, wanting to know more about things, how things work, and how things can be modified, how things that already work, and how to be able to place what already works in the correct context, in the correct cultural or era context. So if something worked 30 years ago, doesn't mean it's going to work again today. Doesn't mean it's not going to work as well. So you have to be very careful to place it in the proper context so that you know what things to hold on to and what things to let go of. And I think that's a very important thing that I learned from somebody who was always older than my parents, who taught me that. And God rest his soul, he's no longer with us, but God rest his soul. So yeah, that's one thing I would like to share. Curious, and remember that there's context, always context.
Thank you. Who wants to share?
I can share that.
Please.
What I have learned.
I'll just say this. Nima, you get to say it last. You have the last speak. I'm going to say this quickly. Find out what you have done, what your history is. Don't listen to what somebody has their own idea of what history is. Be diligent. Find out that who we are. Don't. I mean, they said Christopher Columbus discovered America. It was a lie. Okay, and I knew it was a lie when I was 8 years old. But I went in deep to discover what our achievements are. And what that does is give people, the next generation, self-esteem, pride in yourself. This is important. Okay, and that's what I need. Emma, you close for us.
Thank you so much, Mama Aria. Thank you.
Is it our last words? Is it our
These
last
are our
words?
last words. We have
Okay.
one
Last
more minute
word.
before we close.
Okay, before I say it, I'm going to say something. What I want our listeners to take home is that aging is a part of living and a natural step in the course of a person's life. So all of us are aging and deserve to receive every support into a healthy and active old age. So I really plead on all of us to commit to take full-hearted action to ensure healthy aging for the elderly population, especially the elderly African immigrant population in Finland. And so what an elderly person older than my parents, I've learned from them is that nothing in life comes easily. Whether we are talking about your health, whether we are talking about your finances, everything in life, you have to work hard to achieve it. It's not going to be served on a platter of gold. And that's my message.
Thank you so much. And from me, we would like to thank JC Radio and all the different organizations that have been part of this. My name is Dora from Yade Community. I would like to thank Miss Emma Tamankang from HEED Finland. I would like to thank Mr. Akin Akinshola from Think Africa and Mrs. Mama Aria Arai from Old Folks Matter. And I would like to thank the listeners for your patience and for being here with us. We look forward to seeing you in our activities and in our events, and get in touch with us if you need support in helping the elderly immigrants with an African background. Thank you and good evening. Bye-bye.
Kiitos, moikka.
Kiitos.
Kiitos, hey. Thank you, Dora. Thank you, Mama M's. Thank you, a lot of M's. And thank you, Mr. Handsome Akin.
Thank you. Thank you, Mama Aria.
In the house.
Yeah.
But Mama Aria, you still did not tell us the secret. Or are you gonna
Exactly. It looks like we might have some extra time.
Giving, passion for volunteering, passion for giving, something to wake up to every day. That's it.
On?
It seems like we're still
Yes,
on.
we're still on. We have 3 minutes. Passion for giving. Yes.
Okay. Mama Aria, please, I would like to ask you a question. Okay. It's amazing, and I say this with all due respect and honor, how you have kept it 70 years. Despite all odds, I don't think life has been so easy for you either. It has not been for anybody, especially living in a foreign country for 30 years. What are some of the, because like I said, aging is a process, and we're gonna get there whether we like it or not, right? So what are some of the strategies? What are some of the things that you can tell us, the younger generation? Dora and myself,
tell you right now, I tried to commit suicide. I have tried to commit suicide 8 times. Okay, 8 times I tried to kill myself because I thought I wasn't worthy of living. And when I discovered that I am worthy and I don't need anybody to make me feel worthy, that's when I moved to Finland. I never tried again. I just started being who I am and doing what I do. And so that's what made me live. And I live every single day. I never take any day for granted. I never take any person for granted. And when I work full-heartedly with passion, with everything. Even I might step on someone's toes because I see something needs to be done and it's not getting done fast enough. I go for it. So I don't do anything to try to hurt anybody. I do things out of the passion and from the goodness of my heart. And most people don't even know what I do. You know, you don't know what I do behind the scenes. but I just do it because of my love of people and my empathy. You have to have empathy for other people. Feel what they feel and do something about it if you can. That's my whole thing. Do something about it. Be moral. Do the right thing.
Thank you, Mama Aria, for sharing
Yeah.
that. It's really
That's quite touching. That's quite touching.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we are super happy that the old folks matter. You know, this brain, this new baby that you've just delivered, and you're championing it. I think you are the right person to to guide this baby. And as the African immigrant community here in Finland, because it concerns us all. We're talking about older African immigrants now, so we will support you in every way that matters. Because as organizations, we have to collaborate. All organizations have to collaborate because the issues that are confronting our population, our immigrant population, are so multifaceted that we definitely need brains, to come put brains together, brainstorm, and come up with different interventions. Yes, thank you.
Old folks matter.
Old folks matter. Experience is a terrible thing to waste.
Exactly. Old folks matter.
Okay, so I guess
Thank you guys. I
guess
you guys.
JC Radio doesn't want us to go home today.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
JC
Thank
Radio.
everyone out there for listening. Do something for someone today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
California dreaming about you. California dreaming about you.